live streaming now? I'm going to begin. All right, I'm not going to use the microphone. I have a fairly large voice. So if you can, gather some chairs, socially distance, and give me just a few minutes. Grab the chairs. I'm live streaming and naturally lit with the wonderful east light that comes in through the sun over there. Last night, I'm going to tell you, this projection looked great. So if you want to see it better, it's on computers. I've also putting it up onto the YouTube channel that I've created in Chris's memory. One of the things that dawned on me as I was collecting some of the pictures is that digital cameras are relatively recent. I don't have a lot of the old photos. So if you have some photos to share later on, and I'll post it to the YouTube channel and on his Facebook, I'd appreciate it. I'll put together some stuff and we'll post it up there as well, because his history that you'll see is relatively recent because it's almost all digital. And so I've collected some pictures. Now that I get everybody quiet, I'll introduce myself. My name's Leroy Jackson. I'm the principal at Bertland Middle School, and Chris Lipsey was my assistant principal. I will tell you, he's a brother from another mother. We had a lot of things that were very similar and scary so. There are very few people in this world that had a 1969 Mustang. He had one and I had one. And mine ran. His didn't. Well, he does talk about his running really well. So his stories, are always a little bit, in his memory, maybe a little bit different than that of mine. But I had been a principal for about 2 or 3 years before he became my assistant principal. And back in the day, and it still probably is this way, it is a little bit of a dog-eat-dog world. And so that we have administrators, teachers, and families that don't move out of Torrance very often. So the only real way of getting a job in Torrance is, if I were to somehow get fired or, something would happen to me. And so when we hired on Chris, he says he would constantly threaten various ways of demise for me, which I always appreciated. And we were kind of like a spy versus spy sort of team, and we would talk about our pranks that we might do together. One of the things I was known for, and it may not necessarily be a good trait, is responding to some district inquiries with kind of, smart responses that I find very, very funny. And so I was told, before you sent any more responses to us, could you please have your assistant principal read it? And so before Chris was here, I had an assistant principal. Her name was Jane. Jane was very by the books, and she was very good about reading my memos. And before I would send them, she would laugh and she'd go, "This is funny, but let's edit it a little bit and let's change it." And then when she was done changing it, I'd go, "Well, anybody could write this," and so I would submit it. It kept me out of trouble. Well, when I got Chris, I would do the same sort of process. Chris, I have to respond to this district inquiry about something that they want, and I have a response. I think it's pretty funny. What do you think? You go, "You know what? This is funny. But you know what would make it funnier?" and then he'd go, give me a couple seconds on this. And he'd write on it, and And originally, my funny was only about a paragraph long. His funny would be about a page, and I'd read it, and I'd go, "Oh, there's no way." I had to start censoring myself. And I went to him, and I said, Chris, hold on. You got to understand the balance of this. I'd write the funny stuff, you tell me to stop, and we just keep it inside here. We can just keep this joke in here. And he says, no, I need a job. Fastest way to get a job is to get you fired. So I'm going to help you by throwing some gasoline on your ideas. And so that was sort of the things that we would do. As an assistant principal at a middle school, we spent a lot of time together, at least a couple of hours a day, just talking on the blacktop as we're doing what we'll call duty. This campus is an amazing campus. The students here are pretty easy. The two of us standing there, two big giant scarecrows, and the kids just basically stay away from us. And so we would spend a lot of time talking. When you look at the video, one of the videos that I shared was, I think it's called Chris, Friends and Family, or Friends and Fun. And you'll see some of the fun things that we did together. It's on the YouTube there. And again, this was one of those things, you learn a lot when working with Chris. And so when Chris first came to Berlin, he was coming back to the place where he started in Torrance. And so I thought, you know, how better to welcome him back than to TP his office. And so I had a lot of our faculty come in and we TP'd it because, you know, when you work in a school district, you don't have that cheap little rolls of toilet paper. You have these great big giant rolls. Boy, did we do a nice job in his office. There's something I didn't know about Chris, is that he likes revenge. And he told me as much. He says, you won't know when. It may not be tomorrow. It's probably not going to be next month. It may be years from now. And sure enough, it was. It was 2 years later. So one of the videos, one of the pictures that you will see in here is he managed to get the staff. He was also good at keeping secrets, because normally I hear things. But he was able to get the staff to collect, along with students, a bunch of aluminum cans. Enough aluminum cans that they strung them together, and he filled my office with aluminum cans. So it took a year and a half, but he did manage to equalize that little slate. We also have another one with him playing pranks in the district office, because our meetings, while they are they're very informative, tend to be very long, and so we looked for things to amuse ourselves with, and so you'll see a couple of those on the videos there. With that, we originally had a speaker who's not able to make it here today, but if anybody has something to share or some criticisms to share, I would invite you up to do so. If I have anybody adventuresome to do so. All right, I appreciate it. Come on up. Introduce yourself too. And as he's walking up, the one thing I will say, we are live streaming this. With the pandemic and all that stuff, it's a little bit difficult for us all to get together. And so the people that are online, if you have something to share, feel free to type it into the text of the YouTube channel or on the Facebook, because we would definitely want to hear your stories about Chris. Chris was like a diamond in that there's a bunch of different facets to him. He was good at compartmentalizing. And so I know about you guys in stories, but the stories are definitely yours to share. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrew Henderson, and on camera I look like I just stepped out of a SWAT raid with this thing on. So,
it is distracting, isn't it?
Yeah, so I apologize for not preparing remarks, because obviously I didn't plan on speaking today. And I don't think I know really any of you except for some of these people. I'm Chris's freshman college roommate, and I've known Chris since, well, I knew him for 34 years. All of his kids, all the group of friends that we had in college. We were roommates all the way through college. We got our first apartments together after college. We got our first jobs together. We all married our college girlfriends that we all broke up with at the same time. We all got married to at the same time. All of our kids are about the same age, so we shared a lot of adventures together, and I heard a lot of your names and stories third party. I heard your name every time Chris and I got together.
I deny everything. I deny everything.
He shared all the stories of peaceful insurrection against the district that he was very proud of. I guess the only thing I would say about Chris, that without boring everybody, is that he was a very faceted and complex person. There were sides to his personality that I got to enjoy for 30 years that other people I think never saw. And the other side of that's true. I never went backpacking with Chris once. My son is a scout, and I go backpacking every summer. So that tells you how he would keep things in swimming lanes, and he had different kinds of relationships. And in some ways that was really unfortunate, because I didn't get to share in a lot of things that Chris was doing. And in other ways it was really great, because it kept those sorts of things that we were doing very, very special and unique to us. I think Chris, for me at least, was really a source of passion and life and energy. You know, I met Chris we had an orientation where I had to go to learn how to be a diabetic roommate. Because for those of you who don't know, Chris was a lifelong diabetic, insulin-dependent diabetic, and so the first time I physically met Chris, we went and bought a fan for a room. That was a big moment where we spent all day shopping for the fan and picked out the best fan. And then we went to a seminar where I learned how to help Chris if he ever had a diabetic complication. And from that point on, you know, he was sort of Janis Joplin, and the Doors kind of rolled into one. We listened to every Doors album ever made 750 times. He yelled about everything to everyone. The best way I could describe Chris is one lifelong roar. Usually with his head up, hands up, and usually with me getting in trouble. That was the other talent Chris really had, was walking through raindrops. He got us in lots and lots of trouble that he never seemed to get held accountable for, and I always did, including fights with bodybuilders and crazy things. The car he talked about. So one of the best memories I have of that car, just to give you a feel, he was an RD actually. He ran a residence dorm the year after he graduated college, and I got a call one morning, and he said, someone stole the car. I said, what? Because yeah, the car's not outside. Someone stole the car. So okay, we'll call the campus security and call the police, and he did all of that. And then another friend of ours walked back over about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and said, hey man, you left your car at our dorm. So that was kind of fun. So a lot of adventures there. But I guess the only thing I would really share is that, in all seriousness, Chris was a complicated person, and obviously he carried a lot of trauma and darkness in his life. But he also, I think, fueled that to have a lot of adventure in his life. And the thing that I always admired the most about Chris was his ability to live, really. He was convinced from a very early age that he would have a very short life, that his diabetes would kill him before he was 30. And we talked about that a lot when we were 18, 19, 20 years old. And so he was determined to bring as much passion and adventure to his life as he could. And I think he did a great job of that, and he certainly helped me do that. So that's really all I have to share.
Thank you, thank you.
Anybody else have something? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Chris Vanderleest, and I came to Magruder Middle School as the principal in 2004. And in trying to be generous, I would say that Magruder was kind of in a bad place at that time. And for 2 years, I had a very nice person who was my assistant principal, but his heart really wasn't in it and didn't kind of understand the mindset. And then he left to go to another district. And my last year as principal, I got Chris Lipsey. Since my name's Chris and his name is Chris, I was known as CV and he was known as Lips. And Lips and I had never worked on a project together, on a committee together. We had never been introduced, but from the moment we were a team. And I would have to say that year of his being my assistant principal, last year at Magruder, was one of the best of my whole career of 40 years. And because we were a team, we could interchange. Traditionally, the AP is supposed to do the discipline, but if he was off someplace, I would do it. If I had something to do, he could do it. I think I was one of the first principals to actually have their assistant principal come to all the principals' meetings. And we operated on the idea that the teachers were college graduates, they were professionals, and so they should be able to do their job. Their job in the classroom was not our job. That was their job. And our responsibility was to make sure that they could do it at the highest level. And I think that's why that last year at Magruder, we cracked through what was then the API ceiling of 800. We started winning awards. No disrespect to my beloved colleague over here, but everybody went, wait, what do you mean Magruder got the winner? How can that possibly be? So, and it was at a time when kids and teachers and administrators and parents weren't supposed to enjoy each other. If you were, then somehow you were doing something wrong. But having Chris as a partner, we really became a solidified team, and people enjoyed coming to work, they enjoyed coming to school, and of course we had our ups and downs like everybody else, but it was a really wonderful year. And the thing that, so Leroy, I had no idea, so apparently, I guess you're my brother too from a different mother, with Chris being my brother, so somehow I must be related to you. You know, that's just how it goes.
Of course.
There we go. But even when I left Magruder in middle school and went to adult ed and I wouldn't talk to him for a while, whenever we picked up the phone, it was as though we had just talked to one another yesterday. And I feel very blessed that he was a part of my life. So God bless you.
Thank you. I'm gonna carry on. You gotta come up. I'm gonna make you come up. So we have Tariana, and Chris. He took a lot of pride in well, the other thing. I think the other reason they assigned Chris to me is because I don't have a clue about sports. I am a complete band geek. I've never held a ball until I met Chris, and he liked this game called basketball. Again, hours and hours and hours of discussion. I know what a ball is now. That's a real remediation class is what it was required for me. But his coaching was something that he leaned on, especially when working with adults and stuff like that. And so, and he spoke very highly of his girls' team at West High School, a championship team, is what he tells me. And so, is that true?
West is best.
Oh, this West is best. Yeah. And so he took a lot of pride in it, and he talked about Tariana a lot. And so I'm going to let her come up and just talk briefly. She was not expecting in doing this, and so I'm gonna have you come up and just chat with us a little bit about Chris as a coach and your thoughts on him. So.
Okay, so I am very shy.
You are not.
In front of the camera. Yes.
All right.
So 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Shoot. Oh my goodness.
You were a student.
Yeah, so 2001?
We don't need dates.
So, we're in the gym, and, like, they pulled us all together, like, hey, girls, meet us in the gym. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird. Like, we're supposed to be starting practice. Don't get dressed yet. Oh, okay. You guys have a new coach. A new coach? Huh? So then Lipsey walks in. I'm like, who's this Lipsey guy? Like, I know he works at West, but he's not my coach. Like, I've never seen him. And so, I'm a freshman, and there's, some of the seniors back there, over there.
Okay.
I'm looking like, okay, what the seniors gonna do? Okay, I'll just follow suit. Okay. So we go to practice, and when I tell you he, like, not walked in our, jumped in our life, he made a huge impact for not only me, but my sisters that I call teammates. As far as pranks, oh yeah, he loved to prank, and I was for it, and so was my teammates. We could not get through a practice without laughing. I've never loved somebody so much that sat there and yelled at me every 2 hours. Every 2 hours of practice, it was yelling, T, do this, T, do that. I'm like, hey, okay, go play T, okay. So, it was my freshman or sophomore year. We're getting ready for practice, and I'm a little of a goofball. So I'm, somebody has some kind of basketball that was like a plush toy, and I'm throwing it at people, and they're throwing it back. And I grabbed it, I'm like, oh, and I throw it, one of my best friends, Tasha, I threw it at her, and missed her, and I was like, and it hit Lipsey, and I was like, oh. So then, like, everybody stopped, like, T, you did it, like, we're about to run all practice, and I'm like, oh, shoot. So Lipsey picked it up, looked at me, and walked away. I was like, oh, no. I'm like, oh, let me just put my stuff on, let me hurry up. I'm sorry, guys, like, we're gonna run today, but my bad. Yeah. So he walked to his office, like, everything's quiet now, like, nobody's laughing, we all have to get ready because we have to get on the line. gym door in the pavilion, about that far. I still have my flip-flops and socks on. Lipsey comes out the corner running. I'm like, oh, shoot. I don't know why I thought I could run faster with my socks, my flip-flops off. I kicked them off. I went to run and, boop, I fell. Lipsey walked over me. Ha-ha! I was like, okay, like, coach, I'm hurt. Like, I can't practice today. He's like, T, let's go get ready. I'm like, okay, well, shoot. As long as you're happy, I'm happy. Let me put my shoes on so we don't have to run. We often visited Soup Plantation. And so we're like joking around again. And so they're talking. We're like, oh, let's put something in Coach Lipsey's drink. Okay. What do we have? We have salt. Pour it. Oh, a little more. He goes to drink it. And I'm like, no, wait, Coach. No, don't do it. It has salt in it. I don't want you to pass out. He was like, T, diabetic. It's sugar. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, Lipsey, I'm looking out for you. But he was something special for me. You guys know him as Lipsey. I know him as Coach. It's always been Coach. He was a coach, became a friend. He was there for me through a lot. My college games, he showed up. He thought he was still my coach, which he was, but he wasn't coaching me at that time. After college, he was like, you should get into teaching. I'm like, Coach, I'm not. T, you should just, come out of campus. I'm like, fine. We could just hang out. We could do lunch or something. We go to the playground. Kids are like, oh, hi, you're tall. What's your name? I'm like, T, Coach T, I guess. He's like, you know what, come back tomorrow. Tomorrow? Okay, I'll come back tomorrow. That's fine. T, they love you. I'm like, Coach, like, okay. Kids, see somebody tall, play basketball with it. What it is, whatever. Okay. You gonna be here tomorrow, T? Coach, like, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. So he was like, hey, why don't you run the sports at Lynn? I'm like, basketball only, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So I started doing the noonlings during lunch, had fun. And Leroy and Chris both talked to me like, hey, you should, get into teaching because you're really good with the students. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. But after working here, I applied for a position. I got a position. That was at Arlington. Lipsey calls me. Hey, T, I got a position. Are you interested? Yeah, what, tell me about it. Okay, I'll swing by. Okay, cool. You want the position? Yeah, I guess. Okay, cool. So he's like, oh, when do you want to start? I'm like, well, I'm already here. I want to finish this year off. So Monday, right? Monday. Like, I'm like, Coach, I still have to let my principal know. Like, I got to talk to my teachers and everything. No, you don't need to that. I'm like, Coach, yes, I do. Like, just give me some time. Give me like two weeks. Okay. Next thing you know, my principal calls. Hey, T, I heard you're leaving. I'm leaving. Oh. Okay, then Lipsey calls me back. Hey, you start on Monday at 8. Oh, okay. All right, Lipsey. So first day, like, we walked around campus. He introduced me to all the teachers and the students. Told me anything I needed, just let him know. And he took very good care of me. Very good care of me. So that's my experience with Coach.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Again, he spoke so highly of the team and all the great accomplishments that they had. You coming up? Are you coming up? Yeah. I'm filling space for the.
Well, I think it's appropriate that I speak because you just had one of his players speak. So
go ahead and introduce yourself and share with us.
I'm gonna try to get through this. Andrew, good to see you, buddy. I knew I was gonna do this, but I've been doing this for a really long time, this coaching thing, and I'll tell you a story. And Chris and I have been together in a lot of different things throughout our life, not just the coaching portion, but that's where it started. I was in my office one day. I've been at Monrovia for 30 years, and now I've been there for 4 or 5 years, and I get this knock, and this guy looks around the corner of my office, and I'm going like, why is there a man in my locker room right now during school? And it was Chris. And he goes, you're the head basketball coach. I said, yeah, what can I do for you? And he goes, well, I would really like to get into coaching at the high school level. And I said, oh, okay, well, come in and have a seat, And I looked at him and I said, well, I've already got an assistant coach this season, but, I'm always taking people that, would like to volunteer. So he gave me this whole story. He just, finished college and was living with you guys over in Pasadena and so forth. And it was, and we finished talking at about 10 minutes. I had to go to class. And I said, why don't you come back tomorrow? We'll have a formal interview and we'll talk about, what your ideas are and everything. So the funny part was he came back the next day, and when he left after the interview, I'm thinking to myself, this damn guy's smarter than I am. I said, this is perfect. If you've ever coached before or heard coach speak before, it's always great to surround you with people. I'm sorry. That builds you up and bring you up. So most of you probably don't know, but my family and I, who are all here, we're probably the last ones to see Chris. He left our house that night and was going to try to make a couple hours back to home before, he found a motel that night and stayed the night and finished the trip the next day. But so it's been kind of difficult for me. So, but my family's been there for me. They've been helping me through it, and it's just one of those things that as you get older, as some of us here are, we start to see that a lot in our lives, the passing of people and so forth. I just wasn't ready for Chris. So, take a breath. Get to my coach point right now. So it's we started coaching together. He was my assistant the first year that he worked with us, and it was a joke, one after the other. He had a sense of humor that was so out there. He could say something completely that didn't make any sense, and it was still funny. That's just who Chris was. He was one of those guys that no matter where you were or what was going on, he was just pleasant to be around. He made everything, when we lost, he made it bearable. And when we won, he kept me down to earth. And that's one of those things that he understood the game, and that's difficult to find someone that, that understands the game to a point where he can question everything that you're thinking about. And it's probably why we had the success back then we did at Monrovia, is because of the work and so forth that he put in and so forth as an assistant coach. And he also got his first, I guess you probably could say, real teaching job at Monrovia. Having been there for a minute, and I'm real good friends with one of our other teachers there, and she injured herself, and she actually was out for an entire, most of the rest of the semester. And so as soon as that happened, I don't know if you remember this, I called the office and said, hey, I got the perfect guy. He's already good. He's already subbing in our district every once in a while. He's my assistant on the varsity basketball team. And they said, set him up right now. We'll get him going. And he ended up teaching at Monrovia for the rest of the semester. So it was, and I just saw the way he acted with kids was just, he was a teacher. He was born a teacher. I could just see the way he worked with kids, and he stood and he talked to kids, and it was like he got it. And all of us have teachers that I'm not sure they ever got it. As an administrator, I spent 5 years of that too. Chris kind of followed my steps that I spent 5 years as an assistant principal at Monrovia too. And after a while, I just I can't do this. I gotta go back to coaching. So I did. And but Chris was that guy that just, I don't know, we had so many different things in our life that we were into. The administration, the teaching, the coaching, the dad thing. We're fathers and husbands and so forth. So we had a lot of things in common, and that just and as most of you probably know, if you're older, that friend base as you get older seems to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So he was one of those guys that for me has been a light. I could call him He would call me just out of the blue and come up with some weird thing. A lot of times I didn't even understand. It's like, okay, what do you mean by that? It was all the, I understand. And talk about a history buff. This guy, he comes up with some stuff. I said, how do you remember that stuff? He goes, how do you remember what happened back in 1407? And things like, how do you remember those things? I said, I don't know how. He just, that's the way he functioned. And I never saw him sad one time. Never once. I'm sure some of you might have, but I never saw him sad. He was always happy and always ready to go, and always willing to help a friend and so forth. So, anyway, I know there's a lot of criticisms out there that I could share with you, but I don't want to take up too much time. I've already said my spiel. I needed to talk, and I'm glad that you were all here to listen. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. A scoop of vanilla, scoop of chocolate. Is that what he used to say? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm Kathleen Clapp, and I had the honor of working with the dynamic duo of Christine Vanderlees and Chris Lipsey at Magruder Middle School. And one of the funniest memories I have is when I retired, he had shirts made that said, Mrs. Clapp is history, with Rosie the Riveter. He was just so clever and funny and upbeat. And he stayed with me his last week was at our house, and we had 3 days of talking marathons. And so I heard about the basketball, and I heard about his college days, and I heard about he was so excited to go visit your family. He was telling me how your daughter was coming from college. He was just excited about seeing everyone and catching up with everybody. I heard about his brother from another mother. So we just chatted and but his passion and his love and his kindness, I just wanted his mother to know he was the sweetest, kindest, most wonderful person to work with. And I really feel honored to know him. And you did a wonderful job raising a fine man. That's all. Well, I thought he was fine. I thought he was wonderful. Yes. And that's all. I just wanted.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Bobby Ann. I also worked at Magruder, and I had the privilege of having dinner with Lipsey during spring break at Kathy's house. And I'm so honored to have had that time to share the stories, to share the laughs. And Lipsey had an enormous heart. At a time in my life when we were working together, I was going through something very challenging, and he protected me. He made me feel protected. He made me feel safe at work. And he was a very calming person. If I was having a day, I could just sit in his office and feel the calm come over. He bought me one of those little rake things that you do with the grass so I could be calm. One time he did cry, tears, horrible tears, because of something that had happened to a student, and it was just life-jarring for any administrator to have to witness what was happening that day. And on a funny story, one of my colleagues was talking about how often he brought his kids to school. Before taking them out, if they had a short day, he would just bring them into work, and it was really fun to have that type of environment that he could feel comfortable enough to share his family with us during work time. One of the best stories I could think of is I had hit my head at work and literally fell down. I was sending a fax, so there's more to the story. But I literally fell down, saw stars, and then I was off of work for 5 months because of what had happened to my brain. Upon my return, Lipsey brought me a bike helmet that taped on it said, "Beware of fax machines." And so I proceeded to wear it. So I genuinely loved Lipsey as a friend, as an administrator, as a person. He is going to be sorely missed. And I'm just really sad about saying goodbye. And I'm very, very grateful for the dinner that we had together.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mary Beth Borowski, and I I teach at Magruder, and I taught with Chris and Christine, and it was an amazing year and an amazing time. And Chris he just was so passionate, and because he was a social studies teacher and I'm a social studies teacher, as a department, we just felt so much love and support. And we always joke that nobody cares about social studies because they care about math, they care about English, they care about science, they all have tests. Social studies, there's no national test or anything. So we kind of get forgotten about. But because Lipsey was a social studies teacher, he would just always check on us, and I loved that. And he would brag about us all the time. He would always say how wonderful we were. And that was just such a special trait of his, that you always felt that he supported you. I asked some of the staff if they wanted to say anything, and one of the teachers, she wanted me to make sure that that I mentioned how he was her PD buddy. Like when we would be in these professional developments, she would just look across the room and just lock eyes with him, and it was just like kind of a rolling of the eyes. But and she said that she always appreciated William Shatner after talking to Chris. So that was the thing. So anyway, we missed him when he left Magruder. We were so sad. And I remember when he was applying to Madrona, and I told the teachers there, I said he would be a wonderful, you can't go wrong with Lipsey. So so we were so sad to have him leave, and so sad that he's gone now. So thank you.
Did he inspire you to wear Uggs?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
I love it. Yeah, if you haven't seen, I was surprised when I was going through the pictures. Like, I thought it was just for me that he did that. It's apparently shorts and Uggs.
Shorts and Uggs and sweatshirts.
Yeah, and I thought maybe just Southern California, but when I went up to Cottonwood, which apparently that's not real weather, or actually, it's super cold, short and Uggs. I don't know. It's a fashion.
Hi, I'm Janine Roser, or I was Janine Zellick. I met Mr. Lipsey here. He was my 7th grade social studies teacher, and he was also doing wood shop, and that was the year he was getting married, and I remember the countdown on his board. I remember his love of pancakes and redwood. Sir Francis Drake are things that just stand out to me from that 7th grade class, and I went through a lot here with him and Mr. Cheeseman, and I went on to West, and I remember walking into my 9th grade first period class, and there was Mr. Lipsey. I went, "What are you doing here?" He was like, "I came back to haunt you, Zellick." I was like, "Oh God." And so sure enough, I had him freshman year, and then went on to be his student aide my junior year, I think, and then senior year, all of a sudden the basketball girls were brought into the gym, and I go, "Okay, you're getting a new basketball coach this year," and in walks Lipsey. And I go, he just had this huge grin, and because he was an assistant with the boys basketball coach, so all the girls, we kind of knew him. And he's like, "Yep, Zellick, that's right." But fast forward, God, now 21 years, he's been through a lot with me. Sorry. But I am a coach and a social studies teacher because of him. There's a picture that keeps coming on, and it was a couple years ago. He contacted my principal, and my principal's walking into my classroom, and right behind him, she has this big grin on her face, and right behind him is Coach. And I remember tears came to my eyes because I have pictures of him in my classroom, and my students all know him because I talk about Coach, and we talk about stories and the Mongols, and he just brought history to life for me and showed me what a good teacher is, and something that I strive for every day. But I wanted you to hear that.
Well, I heard a lot about you too.
Yeah, he was very special, and I remember I got a voicemail from him the day my first daughter was born, just saying, Rose or Zellick, if you need anything, I'm here. He goes, good luck on this adventure. So I will end it with ciao, just like he would.
Hi, I'm Colette Kurtz, and my daughter is Terriana Lofton, so I'll be brief. I just wanted to say how much he meant to us as a family. I just remember days at work. It's like every day I could count on Coach calling me, and we'd be on the phone for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes every day. Basketball. This is what the team is going to do. These are the plays that I have. I'm not a basketball person. I didn't play sports in high school, but I sure knew a lot after talking to him. I knew the plays and the things that he had set up, for the team to do, and he was always so welcoming and always so genuine. And that's just something that you just had to love about him. And in terms of the team, he talked about all the girls. I mean, and Terriana started off, in varsity from freshman to senior year, and he always had something to say about all the girls, and everything was always so positive, and how much he loved coaching. And it's just, talking with him, it was just a joy. It was just a joy. He was always so jovial, always laughing, always smiling, always pulling me to the side and said, this is what we're going to do, or this is what's happening, or this is what I want, Terriana to work on. And at the time, she had braces, and I would always call him and say, she's not going to be at practice. What? She's not going to be at practice? No, well, she has a dental appointment today. Oh, okay, well, I had a play that I was going to specifically run that I wanted, that she was going to be point on, so I'll just change it to another day. But even after she graduated high school, he was there at her college graduation and just talking to her. And he's always been a part. He's always been a part of our life. He's always talked about his mom and his family and his college days. So I just wanted to share that. And he'll be sorely missed by us. Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
So my name's Susie Helms, and I know everybody here had a great relationship with Chris. I do have to say that when I first met Chris, along with, not with you.
Not with me.
But with Michelle Bloomberg over there.
Okay.
He was, quite frankly, he irritated us beyond belief. Because, and she's laughing, because he had to be the smartest guy in the room. What I didn't really realize about myself until I got married to my husband, because I said, I'm not competitive. And he looked at me and he said, what are you kidding me? He goes, if you have to be the smartest person in the room, Susie, you're competitive. And I realized, then I reflected back, and then that was that whole dynamic between us when we got our masters together. Chris had to be the smartest guy in the room. Apparently, I had to be the smartest gal in the room, and I didn't really realize that. And we went on, and it was like a give and take with this group. It was something to see. Some girls, some women, and some men who thought that they knew everything. I mean, it was Liberati, it was Gergis, it was Lipsey, and it was Takahashi from Torrance High basketball coaches. And it was just like this the entire time. And then one day we took a test, a personality test, and I never can remember the name of the test, but it was a color test. And you'd go through and you'd like pick what color you are. And so then people would raise their hand, who's red, who's blue, and then he goes, okay, and like the most unusual color, very few people ever get it, is green. And who in this room got green? And he's sitting right next to me. And we both raised our hand up like this, and I went, aha, okay, now we get it. Like, this competition between us is very competitive, but it's also very healthy. And from then on, he and I, and this guy over here, and that guy back there, you know, we became the threesome, foursome. And we did lots of shenanigans, which we're not going to talk about right now.
No, because there's no proof.
There's no proof of anything. But I just wanted to let you know that there's that other side of him, and I grew to love him as like somebody that understood who I was, because he thinks like I do. He thinks differently. We think differently than a lot of people do. I think Leroy kind of thinks like us, but not quite as weird. So anyway, he has been a joy in my life. I was really happy that I got to see him when he came down this last time. He got to meet my baby granddaughter, which it meant a lot to me, and I think it did to him as well. So, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. You know, in hearing all of these stories, and I'm glad that we had some people show up, and I'm certain if it weren't a pandemic and all the other, we would probably fill this room. I had a lot of people asking, so I'm looking forward to seeing the comments and the stories that are being shared online, because as we were talking about, multifaceted. You know, what I'm hearing as well is this capacity to love and his intensity that he had for teaching and for students. And as I'm watching and listening to Susie, I realized that he was always a coach. Before we go to meetings downtown, he would have strategies about how we're going to do this. I didn't realize this is coaching, because again, I don't know anything about sports. But he would have, like, I'm going to start this, and then you follow, and all this stuff. And believe it or not, Susie is one of the key people, because the district believes that she's very reasonable and stable. The rest of us, not so much. So she was a key portion of our plays. And so with that, we're going to go out and plant a tree. We have two out there, and the hole's already dug, so don't worry about that. And then we're going to wrap this up. But feel free to walk around, share stories with each other. I believe everybody is fully vaccinated, and feel, masks or social distancing if you want to. On the back machines that I have back there, there is one that's outdoors with all of his camping that he did. I have another one that is mostly friends and laughter, pranks and shenanigans. I have one for family, and then I have another one which was a Magruder when he received the Honorary Services Awards. And so with that, I'm gonna shut down my live stream, and I'm gonna let you guys get up. Thank you.